All right, listen up. We're about to open a file that's been a ghost story for over half a century. But this isn't a history lesson. This is an active case, one that got completely turned on its head by a single clue that's been sitting in an evidence box for 55 years.
Officially, we call him UN sub 711124. That's for unknown subject, and the date of the incident, November 24th, 1971. For 50-plus years, this file was nothing but dead ends and wild theories. But that all changed in 2026.
Now you all know the name the media gave him, D.B. Cooper. He bought a plane ticket as Dan Cooper, calmly hijacked the flight, and then just vanished out the back of the plane, straight into American legend. Our job is to pull him out of the legend and pin him to a forensic report.
Before we get to the breakthrough evidence, you have to understand the original story. The facts of the hijacking are what made this whole thing possible. It was clean, it was precise, and it left us chasing a ghost. So let's run the timeline.
Picture this, Thanksgiving Eve, 1971, 3 p.m. A man calling himself Dan Cooper gets on a flight in Portland. He orders a drink, lights a cigarette, and then passes a note to a flight attendant saying he has a bomb. By the time they land in Seattle, his demands are met, $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. At 7:40 p.m., they take off again, supposedly headed for Mexico City. But somewhere over the stormy woods of southwest Washington, around 8:13 p.m., Cooper lowers the rear stairs of that 727 and jumps out. And then, poof, nothing.
For the original investigators, the trail went ice cold the second his feet left that plane. I mean, the search was massive, but the Pacific Northwest doesn't just give up its secrets. The case file got fat with speculation, but stayed razor-thin on actual, hard evidence.
So, what did our ghost leave behind for us to work with? Almost nothing. A few partial fingerprints we could never match, 8 cigarette butts, 2 of the 4 parachutes he'd asked for, and of course, a black clip-on tie he left on his seat. And that was it. For half a century, that was the entire case.
The only other shred of physical evidence that ever surfaced was this. $5,800, just a tiny fraction of the ransom money.
And here's the kicker. A kid finds it 9 years later, half buried in the sand on a riverbank, miles from where we thought Cooper jumped. The serial numbers matched, sure. So, a huge break, right? Nope. It told us the money was real, but it gave us 0 clues about the man himself. It was just another frustrating dead end.
And that's pretty much how the case sat, just frozen in time. Until 2026. A new team decided to take another look at the one piece of evidence that was physically closest to Cooper in his final moments. And this, right here, is where the ghost story starts to become a science project.
You know, the question that drove everyone crazy for 55 years was always, where is he? Turns out, the clue that could help us answer that had been sitting in our evidence locker the entire time. And I mean that literally. The original rear air stairs from the hijacked 727, they'd been preserved. In 2026, a forensics team got the green light to do a full microscopic analysis of them, using technology that would have seemed like science fiction back in 1971.
And check this out. Deep in the grooves and scratches on those metal stairs, they found microscopic traces of stuff. Soil particles, tiny fragments of plant fibers, and the real game changer, rare mineral compounds. Now, this stuff didn't come from the airport tarmac. The working theory? It was ground into the stairs by Cooper's shoes as he stood there, waiting to jump.
So just think about what that means. We finally had a physical sample of the ground Cooper walked on before he ever got on that plane. It was a geological fingerprint. The mission then became crystal clear. Find out where on the map that fingerprint came from.
The team attacked this from 2 different angles. First, you had the geologists doing particle analysis. They traced the unique chemical signature of those rare minerals back to a very specific region in southwest Washington. At the exact same time, a totally separate team was running AI models. They fed a supercomputer every variable you could think of: wind speed, altitude, the plane's trajectory, the parachute type, and had it simulate 14 million possible jump paths. And then they laid the 2 sets of data on top of each other.
And the result? Well, it was stunning. Look at this. The AI's most likely landing zones and the geological home of the minerals from the stairs, they weren't just in the same ballpark. It was a precise, undeniable match. The soil, the plants, and especially those rare minerals all pointed to the exact same little corner of the world. This is not a guess anymore. This is scientific triangulation.
All that work gave us what we now call the drop zone. The AI took a search area that was thousands of square miles and shrunk it down to a specific 3-mile radius, a remote patch of forest that, and this is critical, had never been properly searched during the original investigation.
So let me be perfectly clear about what this means. We have not identified DB Cooper. This case is not closed, but we have fundamentally changed the game. We've taken a ghost that was everywhere and nowhere, and we've put him in a specific grid square.
And here's the bottom line. After more than 5 decades of pure speculation and wild stories, we now have a specific, searchable location that's backed up by 2 completely independent lines of forensic science. The science is finally cornering our ghost.
Right now, the search of that 3-mile radius is active and ongoing. We're looking for anything: a piece of the parachute, the briefcase, human remains. So yes, the case is still very much open. But for the first time in a long, long time, we actually know where to look. And that leaves us with the final big question, doesn't it? The science is incredible. It can point us to the exact spot on Earth where he landed. But here's the one thing it can't tell us. Did he survive? Did he walk away from that jump into a freezing storm? Or have we just finally found the coordinates for a 55-year-old grave? That's what we're going to find out. Dismissed.